You see, the magical thing about this thing that we call life is that there's no rehearsing, there's no scripts. Everything happens spontaneously, and every day is a new day to start a new beginning. Other than after the fact, when you can reflect and you can decompress and you can see what went wrong and what you could have done better yesterday, you try to work on for a better tomorrow. Moving more into life, growing up, the family dynamics, siblings. We all have a different story. We might have grown up in the same household with the same morals and the same values, or for some apparent reason, we might have grown up in different households in different settings. Sometimes with those situations, the genetics that bring us together are the things that make us think, the things that make us thrive. But we might have a different upbringing. And that's where some of these systematic routines that happen inside of the households might have a disconnect. Myself, I have a lot of brothers and sisters. Some of us grew up in the same household, and some of us haven't. But the thing about that is, no matter where we came from, genetically, we still have the same thoughts when it comes to love, care, sensitivity, emotional safety, and where would we like to go in life. And in this situation, sometimes when that disconnect is gone, the universe has its funny way of reconnecting. And bringing things into balance. Let's get into the show. Yep. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Twist Johnson. So, if you're with me, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see new videos that's going to come, don't forget to hit the NF so you can follow and see when new videos drop. Now, before we get into the show, I know that you guys see that I've been switching up the screen and the skit of when I start to come on, and the reason is because it's for time purposes. You let me know in the comments before. I'm not saying let me know in the comments now. People did say I need to bring back current events that nobody asked for, which I will, but I didn't have any to give you guys right now. But for right now, we are still going to do what we do before we introduce this young man inside. Just going to give you a quick brief. So, as you guys saw that, if you didn't catch those other episodes, we did choose the community name was going to be The Cousins, so congratulations to that. I can't really clap right now, my arm is messed up, so I was playing football. Alright, I'm sure that when you guys look inside this camera, you can see some resemblance, right? But we won't get into that. Let's keep it on to him. As you guys saw before the episode dropped, you saw the disclaimer because this might be a little heartfelt for others. Some may get triggered. Some may want to skip over this episode. So if you're not into the serious conversations, this is not for you, so go on. But without further ado, say who you are, where you from, and just a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Well, my family knows me as Jameek Daniels, but my name has been changed to Daniel Davaye, and the name I go by is actually Prince right now. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, chilling always Brooklyn born and raised. What's up, Brooklyn? Anybody here from Brooklyn? A little bit about myself. I find myself to be a creative person. I like to think outside the box. I like to think sometimes immaturely or childish, but I also like to think of myself as a wise man at the same time.
You are wasn't. Welcome, Jameek. So, do you want to be called Prince or you want to be called Jameek for this episode purposes? Which one you want?
You call me what you're comfortable with. Everybody else
I'm
gotta call me
comfortable with
Prince.
anything.
Everybody else gotta call me Prince though. But you can call me whatever you want to call me.
All right, before we jump into it, we got the segment the pour out and pour up. So the pour out, for ladies and gentlemen tuning in, for you, pour out is you pouring out for someone that's in the past tense who transitioned to the other world. Pour
Mhm.
up is when you're giving like kudos, a celebration to someone, like maybe it's their birthday, you want to give someone their flowers, you want to tell someone you love them, you want to say congratulations for graduating to school. So who you want to pour out for or who you want to pour up for? Some people do both. It's up to you.
I'll pour up for everybody and that I know that have been succeeding in their life or working hard to push through all the struggles that they be going through. So I pour out for everybody that has passed away in my life. I'll say everybody. Everybody, like, I don't want to pick just one person. Everybody play a major role.
Let's do that.
Uh,
I didn't have a chance to go get my water, so today we're going to pour out some cocktail juice.
all right.
Not too much, because, we need that for... All right, let's get into this. All
All
right,
right.
so for the sake of it, we'll call you Prince. That sounds
All right.
nice. I know who you are. All right, so your government name, everybody knows you as Jameek. Like I said, this episode is going to be a little bit vulnerable. It's actually vulnerable for me as well. But this young man's story, not mine, but I'll chime in with it. So before we even get into any of the questions, let's just talk about your book real fast. You have some books. And I guess we'll find out in real time if some of them talk about your life or just the journey that you enjoy putting together. So tell me about your books. Tell us
Well,
about your
my
book.
most of the books I have out right now are all fantasy. The secret I do with my writing is I go my life into it. I guess people who either know me or know of me or has been around will probably pick up some of the thematic points that's in there. But I don't really outright say this happened to me. A lot of the themes and stuff that has happened in the books I write are just glorified versions of things that have happened, I felt, been through, seen, stuff like that. And then I just create it into like a fantasy setting. So you'll see things like unrealistic, like ghosts or superpowers and stuff, and throughout the books and stuff like that. But then it also tackles heavy themes like abuse, betrayal, stuff like that.
Hmm.
I didn't even name the book. So there's two books out currently. One is called Ghost Girl that follows a boy named Niklaus in his teenage emo phase. He had a rough childhood. To give like a summary slash try to be spoiler free. He has a rough childhood. Not too rough, but something happened in his childhood that kind of shaped his outlook on how life is. And he's been trying to navigate his life in the present with that trauma. A girl passed away in the beginning of the story, and she comes back as a ghost, and for whatever reason, she's tethered to him. So while he's trying to figure her situation out, he's also kind of reliving his trauma at the same time. The next book out is called X Project. That's about these kids who grew up in an orphanage. Every main character is kind of tied to that orphanage, but they don't know each other until like maybe the middle of the story. And they kind of come together for different reasons, but their goal end up being similar by the end because of how things panned out. So that one, one of the main characters, Laura, she deals with sexual abuses and amnesia, and she was an experiment, while the other guy was Damon, was groomed to be like a soldier of war type. So he's trying to run from that throughout his story, while Laura is trying to like figure herself out, and Damon's trying to forget himself throughout the story, and they both have to confront their past eventually.
Okay. Those sound interesting. That's up my alley. I'm into sci-fi mixed with,
Mhm.
little realistic sprinkles. Why did you choose Sapphire to go the route to kind of put little glimpses of your life in? Did it seem to be easier to go that route?
I have a wild imaginary imagination, so I play a lot of video games and I watch anime. So my style of writing kind of fit those aesthetics.
Mhm.
So I felt it's more natural to me to go that route. I am working on a more grounded book called Walking with the Devil. That's less superpowers and more touching on supernatural and religious aspects. It's not for Christians per se, but I think Christians will like the book more than regular people because it has a lot of heavy Christian themes. I grew up Christian, so I'm the religion I'm familiar with the most is Christianity. I took what I knew from Christianity and I put it into a book, and that main character, his name is Zion. He committed a sin earlier in the book, and because of that sin, he can now visualize and see the devil. This is the book. The whole book is personification, basically how sin works its way into your life and how it affects you and those around you, and how it could destroy you. But by the end, Zion gives his life to Christ, and things start looking. It doesn't get better, damages are done and everything. But then hope starts happening. He gets his hope back when everything was lost for him.
Hmm.
I try to pick the themes first when I write, and then I create the characters around them, and then I pour myself into the characters or people I know into the characters, and then that's what brings the characters to life, and then that's how all my stories start. And I don't really have a start or end game for most of my story. I write as I go, and then on the second or third draft, that's when I polish it, and then on the final draft, I'll read it as like what I like, and then on the final draft, then I'll go and tweak and change things. So sometimes the book from the first draft to the final draft look like two different books sometimes.
Okay. Where can we find these books?
Right now, you can find them on Amazon. Ghost Girl and X Project are both live right now. I'm probably going to drop Walking with the Devil within the week or two, and then I'm working on another book that should probably be done by the end of the month.
Okay. And I'll
hmm
make sure all those links are down at the descriptions on below. So the viewers and people who just run across this video, they can, hit the link, support if you will. All right,
Thank
let's
you,
get
appreciate it.
into another side. What is another side? You're actually a music artist too. I checked out your music. I've actually got to feature. So, from what I get from your music, like when it sounds more like heavy metal slash rap slash not mumble, but like
hmm
kind of like a drill, but like that old
hmm
school drill. It's very aggressive. That's the area like I hear from it. Can you tell us how do you develop when you're coming up with these lyrics, like creative process? Where do you get the information?
I go with my feelings actually. Most, if not all of my lyrics are deep down what I've been feeling. I pick a random topic in my head, so I'll be like love. And then I'll think of like, okay, what can I do with love, right? And then I'll be like, I'm developing a song right now for my next song, right? So
Okay.
a guy and a girl, he's ashamed to see her because she's different. She likes him, but she can feel that he's off-putting. So maybe I have a situation like this. I can have a song with both perspective. The guy could go first, da 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 da. The girl can go second, da da da. And you can see like maybe you can watch both of them, both of their story unfold. Or another thing I do is I used to write a lot of lyrics when I was younger, and I still have access to all those lyrics. So what I do is sometimes if I draw blanks, I'll go grab some old lyrics, remaster them to fit kind of today's maturity level of mine. Because back then I was more of a f this f da, 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 da. But now I'm more of like okay, let me be more lyrical now. So I'll have to take like a one line that was maybe that might seem childish, and I have to blow it up into a couple more lines to like explain how I felt that. Sometimes I might keep certain lines in for impact or shock value, but
I admire artistry, especially like, when it comes to music. I like to go dark sometimes, but my
hmm
style, like doing the rapping, my style would be dark, but it also would be. I grew up in a punchline era. You lead up to like a word scheme to the punch. We both could be listening to the same thing, but we catch two different messages.
right.
But it's to where it's like, damn, I've been through that. I felt that, like, and your
hmm
style was like kind of mirrored that, but like more like
hmm
in the updated version. This era, because you are a little younger, the same. It reflects that same, but you can see the difference, but you can see the similarity. We also have music. If you want people to check that out, you can send that to me, and I'll put that in the link description also, so people can hear that. Let's get into your name. Prince Xavier, right? That's a name that you gave yourself. Wasn't your birth, wasn't given to you in your other life. Tell me what made you pick that name. And what is it
Um,
meaning if it has a meaning behind it?
A little bit of ego, a little bit of me trying to hype myself up at the same time. Yeah, there was a time where my name didn't feel like my name, and not like an identity crisis, but I was trying to reject who I was basically. So I went through thousands of names. I have Kevin, I have Xavier, I have Hernandez, I have a whole bunch of like names with stories that, some stories maybe too long now, but maybe in the future if I come back we can go in some of the funner stories.
Okay.
Mhm. I started with Lightning. Lightning was my original character for a story I wrote way back when, but I kind of, for whatever reason, resonated with the character so much that I adapted his persona for a little bit. After a while, I realized like Lightning was a full on rejection of who I was. I try to go to Xavier. Xavier was who I felt I was at the time. I know I probably sound like I'm a crazy man right now. I don't really know how to put it to words properly. But
Okay.
yeah, but like based on how I looked at the name Xavier and the personality I attributed to Xavier, that's how I felt I was. And for a little bit it was okay, but then it was like I'm still rejecting me. So it was a little tug and pull of reject me, accept me, reject me, accept me, reject me, accept me. So Prince Xavier was a way to bridge my gap. The Prince, when I adapted the name Prince, it wasn't Prince as a name, it was Prince as a title. This was me taking Jameek, Daniel, Lightning, Kevin, Xavier, and merging them all into one because I realized I'm not one of these, I'm all of them. And that was me merging everybody into one, so I started using Prince. And then I like the name Xavier, so I kept Xavier. So
All right. I mean, they say that alter egos have like deeper meanings inside of the psychology world. Even just in regular society, I've had these conversations up and down. I too myself created an alter ego for myself,
hmm
the alternate version. We lean into these characters because we're not happy with the person that we were given, the way it looks society. So what we do is we create a person we enjoy off of like the feedback that we've gotten from others and also
hmm
ourselves, so we can be comfortable with looking ourselves in the mirror.
So what's your alter ego, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm Twist. That's who I am.
That's what it says.
Twist
hmm
is somebody I've carried since I was younger. Like I too,
hmm
like I felt like a outcast growing up, and it wasn't from outside. It was actually from the inside. Because I felt like our siblings they were always doing good, like good
hmm
grades, and like talking, with the parents, and like I, on the other hand, would always have to be sent to the room, or felt like I just didn't fit inside those conversations. But
hmm
outside, just causing chaos, being a delinquent, people enjoyed that. As much as like I was like a sweetheart and I wanted to be family oriented and like sensitive and just want to be around like that type of love,
hmm
I created a persona that I felt like was cool. To be a rapper, to be a smooth talker, charming, slick.
hmm That's
All the
basically
dudes is messing with me, and like, I'm not just this cheesy young brother or cornball that like
hmm
my sisters don't want around their friends and shit. I created my own persona of who I was. That's what I wanted my immediate life to accept. But
hmm
what I realized over time is that like that life that we try to camouflage from, and this is situational. But if you actually lean into that, the person who you are pretending to be is keyword pretending. That's not who
hmm
you are. You are the person you are trying to escape. So
hmm
you have to learn how to lean into that, which could be tough. But I don't want
hmm
to take on that. But yes, we all have those alter egos.
hmm
Touching a little bit more into that before we get into some more questions, deeply rooted. Your alter ego. How much of you have you invested into Prince Xavier that you forgetting who you were like out of the womb? How much
hmm
of him? You said you were all of them, right?
Right. So yes, Prince was me finally accepting who I am. So Lightning will be the one that rejected who I was. So Lightning is your twist, basically, down to the T. Obviously, since you described it, I'm like, oh shoot, that is what I did to me too.
Okay.
I invested a lot into Lightning. I'm probably invested half to more of my life into Lightning, and that's when when I got older to a point where finding yourself was a necessity. When I realized I wasn't Lightning, there was a whole lost thing going on. So I had to go on this mental, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, journey to figure out who I was. And when it came down to it, I can't say I was pretending to be Lightning, because at some point pretending became reality. But when I try to reject Lightning at the same time, it's like I'm also, not only am I rejecting Jameek, not only did I reject Daniel, both who are me, my actual names, but both who has different ties. Like Jameek was loved by his foster mother, but outside of that, like when it came down to school, he was stepped over, bullied, stuff like that. Daniel, he was a little bit more cooler. He got friends, everything, but he was like also just there, invisible, you know. And Lightning was like, I'm the center of the universe, you know? So, like, look at me, pay attention to me. That was Lightning. At some point, I wanted the attention, and it wasn't just like, all right, I'm pretending I want attention, but now I want the attention. And then it became from when I realized I didn't want the attention no more. It was a strange duality that was going on. For lack of better metaphor, let's say I will shoot somebody and shoot somebody I don't like and then cry because I killed them, basically. You know.
You know what? You know, as we speaking about this, I don't want people to think that we have mental
Oh
illnesses.
no.
But it's so crazy, you know. It's cool to open up. That's what, you know, mental health is about. That's what therapy
Yeah,
is. We doing this in real time. Let me ask this because of what we're talking about. This is actually real. Have you ever seen the movie? I think it's a TV series or movie, but I watched it for research purposes before when I was coming up with a video. Have you watched The Crowded Room?
the crowded room. No.
All right. I encourage you to watch it. It's the new Spider-Man. He's in it. You know,
Okay.
who else you got? You got that girl from Mean Girls. She also played in Jennifer's Body as the supporting actor. I don't know, like
The blonde
beside,
girl,
not the girl for the Transformers, the other one, not
the blonde
Megan.
one, right? The one
Yeah.
with the glasses, I think. I don't remember. I haven't seen that
Yeah,
movie in a
she
while.
had
But
glasses on it, but
hmm
the reason why I
hmm
bring it up is because it's exactly what we're describing, and it's a mental illness, and it's also wrapped into like a psychological aspects.
hmm
People who create these other personas, like it was just
hmm
this one guy who had different alter
hmm
egos that
hmm
in his head he thought were real people, and the
hmm
psychiatrist had to walk him through and show him that it was only him the whole time.
hmm
But he had someone for everyone. What I got from that, watching that and talking to us, it's a defense mechanism. It's a safety. So you create these people to protect you.
Right.
But then you forgot who you're protecting. Sometimes you make different personalities of yourself just to protect that one child you've been trying to
hmm
protect. Since the world is not doing it or the family is not doing it, you create your own family. You create your
Right.
own friends. So you have Daniel and you have Prince. These two are protecting Jameek, right?
Right.
And I had Twist, and I think at a point I had this name called T Bits, but it really didn't go
hmm
anywhere. It was more like rap. But T
Right.
Bits, like I didn't like it because I felt like it had too much of T Bitch in it. Like, you know, any
Okay. Yeah.
bad rap, I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna make it out of that. Then I had Thrills, which was pretty cool, but
hmm
Twist was the long run and it stayed long. But there
hmm
is a psychological explanation for these things.
Right.
Let me ask, and then we'll get into some questions. What if the whole time, even though it's real to us, that's been Jameek the whole time? That's been Jameek in different stages. It just looked differently. It's just like that little kid that you've been trying to protect. As you grew up and you learned lessons, you've been through stages of life, you've been through growth, all of the things that make life what it is. Could it have been that that's been Jameek the whole time?
Yeah, I have come to accept a version of that. Yeah, I don't word it as that's been Jameek the whole time. I'm mainly just worded as just been me the whole time. Like it's just me been evolving, defending, however you want to call it. But all me, they're all a part of me. No matter no matter how you look at it. To a point where I've learned now to just be me, just accept who I am, and that's been the story for the last couple of years now. So I have already accepted who I am. So now it's like, how do you move forward with knowing who you are now? You know.
Yes.
hmm
And how old are you now?
I tell people I'm 26.
You tell people. Okay. Well,
I believe I'm 27, but I've lost count in the
you
last couple
lost count.
months. Yeah, I lost count in the last couple months. So
Uh,
I've been saying 26.
you know, I lost count at 23, and that was an accident. It wasn't on purpose. Like
hmm
life was just different, and I just one day somebody asked me how old I was, and it was my birthday, and I didn't know how old I was, and it was an accident. I was like, dang, how old am I?
Yeah, that's what happened.
I
So I was
forgot to call someone and ask how old I was. And they were like, "Are you fucking serious?" I'm like, "No, how old am I?" Like, I really didn't know. I was like, "Damn, I guess
yeah,
these
somebody
people
asked,
are
yeah,
serious."
somebody had asked me, and I drew a blank. I was like, 26, and I'm like, I looked later. I'm like, I don't think I'm 26, but I was born in 1997 though, so I'm at least a year from that.
Right. You didn't get to that stage to where someone asks you, well, how old are you? When you say even you shocked, like, oh, I'm like 40. 40? Damn, I'm 40. Shit, I can't believe it. Like, I'm not 40. Like, I'm 36. So,
Mhm.
but like, even that, I'll just be like, God damn, I remember I was like 26. It's
Mhm.
terrible. All right, let's get into some stuff. We're gonna dig into the cognitive side just for a little bit. So,
Alright.
for people who just caught a little clip of that, you said that you were in foster care, right? I too was in foster care. I believe I was lost to the system for about 4 years, 5 maybe, because our siblings had wound up leaving like probably a few months to a year earlier. For those who don't know that story, I don't tend to talk about it on air a lot, but those who are close to us know it was 3 of us, and then it wound up being 4 who got lost into the same agency. That's myself, my other little brother, my sister, and Jimmy. We all were together just for a clip, but we quickly got separated. Jameek was the last to enter the system, and somewhere in between, he got lost inside foster care. We wound up getting out, and he's just been gone for like a long period of time. And just, what was this, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? Was this
Yeah,
1 or 2 years?
about 2.5 years ago.
About 2.5 years ago, Jameek pops back up in our life, which was a blessing. That was good. But he's been in the system his whole life. That's basically what that is. So, growing up in a system, what kind of coping mechanisms did you create for yourself young, and how has that helped you as an adult?
I'm not too sure how to answer that, to be honest. I've kind of adapted this don't get too attached to people personality at some point. My default tendency is to keep people as far as I can throw them, basically. That's trust them as far as you can throw them. I don't really grow attached to people. That's been like my thing. At some point I developed that. I don't know when and where I developed that, but by the time I realized it was like a main thing I was doing. I didn't develop a coping mechanism probably until I was like way out of foster care. My adopted mother had passed away, and that's when I just jumped into all the heavy substances. That's been my like. Let me get away from all this because now I'm starting to feel, and I don't want to feel this. I didn't wasn't really taught how to navigate emotions. So the biggest thing I've learned that hurt me is whenever an emotion is too powerful, I shut it off. I find ways to distract myself, and if I have to distract myself for days or weeks, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just until it's like enough where I can ignore it. Hmm.
Okay. Uh, for my coping mechanisms, I learned how to flip. I got into gymnastics. I started smoking cigarettes. And like I wasn't smoking them, but I was
Hmm.
attempting them, and like I would keen on to like older individuals that I felt safe around and protected by and accepted by. That would be the people who would make me feel safe. Or like for myself, I became a pyromaniac. Like I used to set fires. That made me feel good to watch fires. Yeah, we all come in different ways when it comes to coping mechanisms, and it's not easy. I feel like it didn't hurt me, and it sounds like the things that you did, it didn't hurt you
Hmm.
to your degree, but it was something that you did to cope. Has any of those followed you into adulthood? Any of those substances? Any of those behaviors?
Yeah. Weed has been my main habit. My relationship with weed has transformed from more of a use this to forget to more of a casual thing now. But for a while, weed has been that thing I would turn to when I didn't want to deal with emotion. I used to drink heavy too, but an incident happened. Another story for another day. Incident happened that kind of made me realize, all right, alcohol ain't my thing no more. And so I haven't really drank alcohol like that since that incident. And so I would say I've been alcohol free for like 5 years now, but I have sipped here and there. So yeah. So besides that, I have a short temper, but because of my unique duality situation, I've learned to be angry in peace. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
So
heard that before.
yeah, so I'll be pissed off, but I'll be like also trying to keep the peace in the room. I understand my anger enough where I now know how not to take it out on people.
Okay, so looking back at those moments, now, like, do you realize that you were just trying to survive trauma? Like, even if your behaviors was misunderstood, how do you feel about those moments looking back? It sounded like you were talking about when your foster mom was around, things were a lot better, a lot
Mhm.
easier, and then when she transitioned, you basically was in survival mode.
Yeah, so I mean a lot has happened within. I ain't gonna say my adopted mom was all peachy and gravy, but my role with her ended around when I was like maybe 10 or 11. I was sent right back into the foster care after she developed Alzheimer and dementia. You know, I went to maybe three different houses before I got back to her daughter's house. And then from her daughter, maybe stood there until I graduated high school. And then I got sent right back into the foster care again. I was in two other houses in a group home, and then ended up breaking, kind of like rebelling, and I ended up homeless for a couple weeks. And then I found a place, but they found me. And it's called the Foyer. If I can like plug them in real quick, they GSS, Good Shepherd Services. If any runaway youth from like ages 19 to like 24, I believe, you
Say it
can
again
go.
so they can understand it.
Yeah, runaway youth or youth that are homeless, coming out of foster care. If you're like ages from like, I think it's 20, but I'm gonna say 19. Let's say 19 to like 24, 25. If they need a place to go, that you could go to the Foyer. It's in West 22nd Street off the one train. You have to Google the information yourself. I don't remember too much information, but it's there. Their main office is not too far from that building, so even if you can't go to that specific building, they have buildings all over New York where
Mhm.
that people can go to. It's not the one I went to was for runaways and homeless, but there's other places like if you're a victim of abuse or that or stuff like that. So one of their people found me. They told me to go there. I went there and they helped me out. They spoke to the agency I was a part of. There was a clash between the agency because the agency didn't like, because I guess they work with something else, but my agency didn't like that I did that. But then it's like, we got to a point where they have proof that I was being mishandled. So either we escalate this or you just age me out real quick and let the Foyer deal with me.
Mhm.
And so the agency allowed the Foyer to deal with me because they didn't want to escalate it.
Okay.
Hmm.
And what agency was this?
Saint Christopher Ottilie.
Say Christopher Otto?
Ottilie.
Otto.
Ottilie. That's the agency
I
that.
believe, yeah, we were in the same agency. I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe, I think I drove past it like probably about a year ago, so they're not in that area. I'm not sure if the agency itself no longer exists, but it
Um.
wasn't in the area that it was. I don't know.
They're still there. They're in Nevins now though. So
Okay.
they're not in the main area. I don't want to air their business out, but I don't know what happened to them financially. They had to
Yeah.
move from one place to another.
Okay. So,
You know.
like, which was leading to, like, they found you, they didn't want to fight it. You
Hmm.
wandered up in these different areas. How did this the consistent shift in like homes, houses, schools, families? How did that impact your mental health?
I don't know. That's more like a you have to see me to understand kind of situation. I don't know how to really put it into words. It has given me a lot of kind of trust issues and attachment issues. Not really attachment, but it's like really hard to form bonds because I'm so used to people coming and going, basically. So
Mm,
like I got to a point where I'm used to every story has an ending, and every ending comes pretty quick.
mm.
That's the mentality I kind of developed. There are some. I'm not saying there aren't some long term. There's people that's been there since childhood, but for like the main aspect of this, I'm used to things just moving quickly, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going, and that's basically where I'm at. Even like me staying in one place for too long, living situation is like abnormal. Like I've been where I'm at now for about 5 years, and that's the longest I've been in one place.
Mm.
Hmm.
Wow. Now, people would think that 5 years is actually long. It's actually like that. It's fast.
Hmm.
Reconnection. So you go
Hmm.
through all of these things. You be homeless, jumping house to house. You know, you meeting all these individuals. Where did you see about like your family? What were you thinking? Were you wondering where they were? Were they thinking about you? What was the thoughts when it came to your biological family?
For a little bit, it's complex because for a long time I wanted to meet everybody, but I didn't know how to, and the story I was told, there wasn't no interest in that. And then Connie, my last old social worker when I was a kid, she randomly reached out to me while I was in college, and she said that you, Tyreek, had you gave her your number and told her to reach out to me. So she had called me, told me to come over, and she explained the situation. And she said like that you came over, you was looking for me, and she said that she still have ways to contact me. So you gave her your number. So I got your number. I was gonna call your number. And then the lady I was at, I gave her your number, and then she lost it.
Hmm.
Come to find out, if I should air business out, she was cousin with somebody in the agency. So I don't know if that played a role in that, but.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that story goes totally different because
Hmm.
there were two things.
Hmm.
When you were still young, because Dion, my other little brother was still a kid. He was a
Hmm.
baby. I was able to take the trains and stuff on my own, and Connie,
Hmm.
shout out to Connie. I don't know if she does that line of work still in life, but she definitely, she did her thing.
Hmm.
But I reached out to her. I went to the agency. I was of age now, and I went to go get information and find you. And she
Hmm.
said that she was having a hard time. We went through this for like a week, and
Hmm.
then eventually we did find you. We found the lady who you was with. I don't want to put that. I don't know who you were with. I'll put it that
Hmm.
way, but it was the early 2000s. I was about, I want to say 13, 14 around this time. We did find you. Whoever we communicated with did arrange a meeting with us. You came to the agency. I seen you,
Hmm.
and we were arranging for me to have the meeting with you. Somewhere in between there, the lady said you weren't feeling well, and you had to leave, and like we had to schedule it another day, and I got
Hmm.
so excited. I didn't want to hold it, but I told little people but not too many. And me and Connie was getting it ready. She could back this up. We were getting
Hmm.
it ready, and then the next week when we agreed on the day, the she never showed up. And then we tried to get the number. The number was disconnected. Then we kept doing the work, and for some apparent reason, allegedly I don't want to do the air quotes. I don't know how true this is, but something happened. Like you guys moved, something. You were
Hmm.
no longer in the same address, so I was upset. And then a few years passed, and what you're talking about now, I'm an adult, and I came back. When I came back, the agency wasn't where it was, but
Hmm.
someone walking by the grace of God, seen me, and they asked, "Was I looking for the place?" And I said, "Yes." And then they
Hmm.
told me that there was a branch off around the corner,
Hmm.
and then I went in, and who was running it? Connie. So I asked Connie, I'm like, "Hey, do you know how to get in touch with my brother?" And then she said she hasn't been in touch with you in years. However, they still always keep files on people.
Hmm.
So I gave her my information, and I just said, "Here, let's see if it does what it does."
Hmm.
Um, but the universe does what it does, and you connected on your own, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I can't speak for the perspective aspect of the childhood version of the story. I don't. There's a mental blocks there for a lot of the childhoods. I don't really know what happened. I do remember moving. When we moved, there was an issue we had with somebody in the building. It was a lot of death threats being flown. So after a few police reports and stuff, they kind of forced us to move from where we were at to Coney Island.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why we moved. I don't remember anything about being told like you was reaching out or anything. So I don't know if that was a secret that was being kept or something. I can't speak for that though.
Yeah, well,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's water under the bridge. We don't
Hmm.
want to air out too much on air for the simple
Right.
fact, there's a lot more players in this story than just me and you. But this
Right.
is where it's at. Like, you have the right to have the authenticity to the story. Now, what I will say is, like, I guess at the time, your mom at the time was trying to protect you. I
Hmm.
think since you were born, like, she fell in love with you, and
Right.
I've actually read paperwork statements to where she was actually telling the parents, I'm gonna say parents, like they were demons, like they were
Hmm.
and that nobody wanted you, and that was not true. I even when I was younger, because as I was younger, you still were as a baby. I
Hmm.
have memories of like our father taking me, our other brothers and sisters to your birthdays, to
Hmm.
actually going to the neighborhoods you were at, to play with you, picking you up. But
Hmm.
then it got to where the lady you were with was coming up with excuses that you were always sick, that
Hmm.
you were like always. I'm like, how could a baby be that sick? Like unless our mother was on some hardcore drugs at that time, that would make sense. But like you were every time you're sick, you can't come anywhere,
Well,
and then I see,
I
yeah,
can't speak for those timing, like if I was actually sick or not.
well, you were
But
a baby. I wouldn't expect
yeah,
you to get it.
but there were a lot of stories that I was getting a lot of. I was sick a lot. I was getting seizures and a whole bunch of stuff like that. I can't validate them because I don't remember them, but there were like there was people in the neighborhood Brownsville I lived in, and they were always talking about like I used to be sick a lot and how she would go all over the neighborhood trying to ask people for help and stuff like that. So I don't know if it validates what you were hearing, but there's that. So
Yeah. Okay, I mean, it could be some truth to it, but it was
hmm.
just always ironic every time it was time for us to have house visits
Hmm.
and
Right. No, I get that. I
like
get that.
that. But I
Hmm.
also knew that that lady really took a liking in you, and I'm not sure if she. I remember going to your home. I remember popping up around the neighborhood I knew you was at, and
Hmm.
watching you play in the park because I knew where you was.
Hmm.
And as soon as she would notice that I'm around, she start like getting you away and stuff.
Hmm.
She invited me to the house a few times, and I seen I was young at the same time. I don't even know what a 6, 7 year old was doing running the streets by himself, but
Hmm.
I was there and I was seeing. Now overall, reconnecting with your siblings. Let's just
Hmm.
say your siblings first. Reconnecting with your siblings. Did you have to rewire and understand what attachment is and trust?
No, because like I said, I always wanted it to happen, but there was a part of me that, like I said, I was told a different story. I was told there wasn't no interaction wanted. So that was part of the reason why I didn't push hard enough was because I thought there was no interaction wanted. But after a drug incident where things could have went left, I decided, one of the main demons that was bothering me was that I never got to connect with my real family. I was like, all right, so since that's one of the reason why the trip went the way it went. It wasn't the full reason, but the trip had layers of how it went bad. But one of the major points was family, mother, brother, sister, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, so I had to go in detective mode, and I was like, how do I find a family that don't want to be found and I have no idea how to find. And then I was like, well, the only names I have is Tyreek and David. So I was like, let me start from there. I couldn't find you on the database I was using, but that's because I didn't know the spelling of your name. If I knew the spelling of your name, I wouldn't have to go through the hoops I went. But I ended up sucking up my pride and going to the agency because I wasn't trying to ask them for help. I wasn't, once I aged out, that was like a journey I wasn't going back to. But I was like, F it. There are some, I remember some good people. one of the names that popped up to my head was Carmen. I was all right. Let me just go make a beeline to Carmen. She might know some information. Carmen had nothing. She pointed me out to Connie, and she said, but she hasn't spoken to Connie in years. I'm like, I haven't spoken to Connie in years, and she said, but she has a number that might connect to Connie. So she said, let's call this number. Let's see what happens. We called Connie. It almost went to a voicemail, but then at the last second, she picked up. And Connie's like, yeah, who this? And then Carmen's like, it's Carmen, but you won't believe who I got here. And she was like, don't tell me it's Jameek. Carmen's like, how you know? And Connie was like, I don't know, it's just a feeling. So Connie was like, come through. She gave me an address to come through. So I went like I think it was on a Wednesday. I went. I ended up having to help Connie do some work related stuff. But after we got some time, she asked me, what's going on, and I explained to her that I'm searching for you guys. And she was on the same boat as me, but she had more names. Right, so she was like, we spent like 2 days we went through ACS, we went through the backlogs of the agency, we called people that ain't work at the agency in years, see anybody got files on you. She called somebody that used to be your social worker. She even tried to call, there was a lady you lived with in Sutter, I think.
Yeah, I remember that lady.
Yeah, yeah, she even tried to call her. We couldn't get in contact with her either.
That was that
So
Jamaican ass lady. I remember her. She was, I mean, if she ever catches us, that's why I ain't throwing no names here.
yeah, so when so Connie almost gave up. So I was like, you know what? But like, do you have any names? If I can just use names, so she gave me Tracy, mom's name. And I was like, okay. So I tried to use the database to find Tracy. Again, not knowing the spelling, I couldn't find her either. So I was like, okay, any other name? And she was like, you have a sister, Davina. You have another brother named Dion. And I was like, wait, hold up. I remember when I was searching on the database for David and your name, I did find David, and I found one that had Davina, Dion, Jason, and a whole bunch of other names I didn't know. And your name was there too, but it was spelled differently than what I thought Tyreek would be spelled like. So I was like,
That's
so I
how
was,
it
I
started.
was, I was like, hold up, you said Dion and Davina. I'm like, and then I go back to the database I was using, and I searched up the same name, and then I read out the address that was listed on that. And she looked at me, she was like, how'd you find that information? I'm like, uh, you're working in a legal job, I'll keep that to myself. But I was like, is this the address that he used to live? She's like, yes, that is David's address. So when we searched up when I pressed the file to do a deeper search, it had told me that David had deceased. And I was like, oh crap, that might be a dead end then. And I was like, shoot. And I'm like, and then I believe, let me see, I might have been, this was like a February, right? So I was 6 months too late. I was like, damn, I'm 6 months too late. So we had like a moment of silence there, and then we spoke about David a little bit, and then Connie was like, well, maybe don't give up. Maybe send a letter there and see if somebody, maybe a next of kin or somebody stood behind. I was like, why don't I just show up? She's like, well, you don't know how they might react. You don't know if they're not expecting you and stuff like that. You don't want to like just bring that out. So just write a letter, and if they're there, they'll reach out. If they're not there, they won't reach out. Or if they don't want to reach out, at least you got your answer. I was like, okay. I still was gonna pop up anyway, but I wrote the letter and I was gonna pop up the weekend of, but then randomly I get a call. I answer the call, and it's Dion, but I didn't know it was Dion at that time. Yeah, and then Dion put Davina, and I think we all three of us, all four of us on the phone that day.
Yeah, I don't remember that. But maybe.
Yeah, I think
I
all
just
four.
remember.
Yeah, I think
No,
all four of us on
I
the
mean, yeah,
phone. Oh no,
from
it
the
was Dion and
distance of the
no,
sun.
it was Dion and Davina first. And then Davina called again, and she called with you.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, I remember that part.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you ended up calling later on that week, and you brought mom in, and then that's how I got in the fold.
Hmm.
hmm
If you still in contact with Connie, shout out to Connie. That was the
Yeah.
homie right there. She used to pop up on me a lot, and
hmm
that's one of those social service providers. I don't know the title that it is. That like they do go above and beyond, and
Right.
like they do what they supposed to. Like even at a young age, I knew that she was wound up in places she wasn't supposed to be in.
Right,
So
right.
I knew she was really rocking with me, like
Hmm.
hard. Like I'll be like, I could tell back then, being I'm 7 years old, that it's way past 5 o'clock, and you could
Hmm.
get a park, like knowing that I'm over there. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so she really was tapped in. And I do remember Carmen. I remember Carmen, the Spanish Latina older lady. I remember her too. So now that you reconnected with your brothers and sisters, did you feel any sense of not wanting that connection that like was told to you? How did you feel having that connection?
At first, it was a lot of emotions. It was a little bit overwhelming at first, but I was able to, yeah, I was able to, start compartmentalizing the emotions and stuff like that. I can't say I felt the unwantedness. I definitely felt the wantedness. The issue I started facing was like, all right, I have to be more approachable and more approaching, because I think the family and me are both in the same mindset where we don't know how to move forward with each other in
Mhm.
terms of communication, because not you guys as the immediate ones, but everybody else don't know me, I don't know them, and it's like, how do we form a connection when me being the non-connection type, and then everybody else not knowing me? Sometimes I hope everybody don't feel like I'm not trying to like be a part of. It's just more like I have a wall and obstacle to climb now, so that's my obstacle and wall to climb,
Mhm.
and just I hope everybody meet me halfway there.
Oh, so it's more like just hearing. I mean, you corrected it was wrong. Sounds more like personality over boundary and hesitation.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know for me, I never felt like we never connect. Like when we connected, we connected.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
so many years has passed, but even though you weren't there, you were there. For me,
Right.
it's like it's just
Hmm.
genetic tied, out of sight, out of mind. If you call me, we talk. If we don't, we
Yeah.
don't. But it's like it's always. But I think like everyone individually has their social like personality.
Right.
Everyone's different, but that was yours. You're just trying to figure out like what that looks like. Actually, good. So it sounds like what you thought it was going to be, what was explained to you as a story, didn't seem that's what it was when the connection actually occurred.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so rest in peace to Dad. You didn't get to
Hmm.
meet him again, but you did get to reconnect with your mother. So how was it like versus with your siblings? How was it to actually meet your mother?
It was a different from what I expected. I thought I would have underlying emotions that would resurface, but I was able to actually stay mature and call a spade basically. But the child in me did not want to seek revenge. Basically, wanted to seek reconnection.
Hmm. I love that. Did it open your eyes? Did it answer a lot of questions over the years that you were curious about? Like, did it do something for you?
Um, for the most part, yeah. I would say the want aspect, there are certain things that I felt like I missed on that I am aware I won't get back, or get whichever is the right phrase for that. So sometimes there's that emotion that creeps up here and there, but for the most part, yeah. Questions have been answered, realizations have also been made, and stuff like that. And I would say most of it is positive.
Um, so now that you reconnected, you got to meet your siblings, you've got to meet your parent. The story that was given to you versus not the story of no one wanting reconnection, the story of yours.
Hmm.
Start to hear these other stories. Did it make you understand that like you weren't the only person? Like everyone had a unique story.
Yes.
So now, do you? I guess the question would be: Is do you not feel like that you were left behind on purpose?
No, I don't feel that anymore.
Okay.
Hmm.
Why?
Because you guys haven't pushed me away. I will feel like there's a fakeness to people if you want to give the illusion of you accept somebody, but then you say or do things that pushes them away, and that's to me, I pick up on those things pretty quickly and more potent than most people will probably pick up on. And I don't get that from you guys. I get that wanting to bond and wanting to get to know me, but also giving me my space to approach you guys at my pace.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So now that you entered the chat, you entered the conversation, you meeting these individuals, you also had conversations. We gonna take it there. there was alleged that like we didn't share the same dad, right?
Hmm.
At a point, you became curious, but then after you let it go, did you not want to take it further to figure out like what that looked like, or you was content with the family that you found that you were told didn't want anything to do with you, and you found out that they do? Did you feel like, you know what, fuck it, the father that like I was given, that is my dad, we gonna leave the legacy as that is my dad and not try to dig further? What was it like?
Yes, there was that moment where I was curious, but I shut it down because I didn't want to create more chaos or drama that that could have came from that. But another reason I also shut it down was because, despite reservations and other emotions, I do remember David being the one being there. I don't consciously call him dad because it's been a long time, but like, he was my father. Like, he was the one that was present. I do remember visits. I do remember going over to his house, spending nights. I do remember a lot of those. Do remember him coming out, coming to the agency, taking me out to go eat, spend time with you guys, spend time with mom. I remember little bits and pieces of those things. So he was present in my life, and I remember his smile. He always had that smile of his and stuff. So I can't deny him as my father. Let's say he was the one who showed me what a father should be at that time.
I love that. I love that. And not I love that for me. I love that for you that you
Hmm.
had that maturity and you had that thick skin to just say, you know what, like even if whatever the rumor, whatever the alleged is out there, we'll leave it here. That is
Hmm.
mine. That's my dad. And yeah, I give you kudos for that. So let's talk about like boundaries. You talked a little bit about it. We were talking about like the connection with the your siblings. How do you build like an emotional safe space with family without losing yourself? I think you answered it a little bit, but I guess like well for yourself to where it's like it sounds like you're a person that don't push too much. If you didn't understand the question, it's just like do you try to sell yourself or do you just let your family meet you where you at and just get to know you?
I'm used to. I'm a person who prefer people to approach me, show me you're interested in me, kind of mentality that I have deep down secretly. But also because I don't want to call it a rejection fear, but like that, I guess that you can call it that too. Is more like a I don't want to approach and then feel that feeling like you don't want to be bothered. So I rather like if I know you want to be bothered, then I'll approach. Like you told like how me and you had our conversations, and you told me it's okay for me to randomly reach out the way I do and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Right. But there's other people who might not be okay with that. There's other people who prefer more like a come to me in person type situation, and that's more a little bit nerve wracking for me. Come meet me, and then from you meeting me, I'll learn how to meet you
Okay,
situation.
so like
Yeah.
you do it first and then I'll do it.
No, more like let me figure out who you are, and then I'll learn how to approach you.
Oh, okay. So
Hmm.
they gotta meet you on your comfort level first.
Hmm.
So you can. I mean, there's some ways that could make sense. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
safety. I get it. So sounds like you'll meet someone where they at, and like I guess from what I'm getting is like you don't mind stepping into other people's realms as long as they're willing to step in yours. Is that what you're
Hmm.
saying?
Yes.
That's fair enough. So, reconnection, meeting your mom, meeting your parents, understanding you inside of the chain of the family. Now you have your family, we of age, we adults. There's nieces, there's nephews, there's
Hmm.
things. Now you're an uncle, right?
Hmm.
How do you play your role as an uncle, individuals, and when it comes to relationships with your siblings, how do you keep that consistency? Is it calls? Is it visits? Like what do you do?
Speaking of uncle, you got one of your nephew asking me if I could do backflips because you can do backflips.
I haven't backflipped in a few years, but I think I can do it.
As an uncle, I probably am a sucky uncle. I'm gonna be real. I have not had a connection with children. I think the last time I was around kids in this magnitude was when I was a child. From like high school to like college to now, I haven't really interacted with children. So when I first challenge was Davina wanted me to hold Quadir,
Okay.
and I did not know how to hold Quadiri. And Will is like, you can hold him, and I'm so terrified. I'm like, I don't want to drop him in my head, so I'm like, I'm trying to like signal like, no, I'm okay. I don't want to drop him, and then you guys are gonna hate me for the rest of your life. And I started practicing at home how to hold a child with some random watermelons and stuff like that,
Mm.
just for like the future. If that happens again, I can hold. And I was able to hold. I'm gonna butcher his name now, but I'm not gonna even try it. I was able to hold the youngest one last week, so that's definitely a stage, a level up. So,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
I mean, eventually you will have young ones too, so you better get used to holding them.
yeah,
It's good
um,
practice.
mhm, yeah, and then
Um,
the talkative. I don't know if she wants their name out there. I think I accidentally said one name, but
that's okay.
um, the talkative one. I don't want to put their names out there just in case you don't want their names out there. But yeah, I speak to him whenever he's with mom. And he got stories for days. He got a lot of fun stories. A lot of
Kids
fun
are a breath of
stories.
fresh air. They have no chill because they don't understand filter.
hmm
It's good.
his thing. What the sigma? Yeah, it got me
Mhm.
rolling a little bit. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's a phrase. It's what the sigma. You say that when you shock. I'm like, oh.
Oh, it's a breath of fresh air because you know a
hmm
lot of people when they reconnect with their family, sometimes they don't mesh well with them. They
hmm
don't feel like that sense of belonging. They got the closure they need, but it feels like thank God I didn't grow up with this family. Like I'm actually
hmm
glad. There would be a lot of resentment, you know, towards the parents, like why you didn't want me,
hmm
you know, like resentment towards the other siblings, feeling like they had a better life. You know, they got to have like their parents, everything. I don't feel like this not. It just given a little bit is that like all of
hmm
us in some way were in the system, and we have older brothers in the system. You know, having those conversations like to hear their stories when they came back into the life, it's just like we all shared it. No one is faulting the parents at this point. We adults now. It was a part of our life, you know. But we could have easily took that route and be like, yeah, you know, it's their fault that my life is ruined. But
hmm
you know, after a while, you have to take control, and you can continue to lean on that as a burden to blame them for your mishaps, or you can go ahead and you can take what you got, and you can be impactful into society.
hmm
That's what it is.
I attribute a lot of my beneficial. No, that's not the word. I was lucky, blessed rather, to have Christian role models towards the later end of my years.
Mhm.
I say that like I'm an old person. Like the last, like before I met you guys for about 2 3 years, I was getting a lot of Christian role models being thrown my way. I was rebelling a lot. I was doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing, and I'm trying to reject not necessarily Christianity, but reject the notions of like let me be and do what I want to be. But when the trip incident happened, everything kind of like all the darkness I was holding was
Mhm.
temporarily opened over. So I was able to think a little bit more clearly for a couple months. And, you know, certain decisions I made because of the Christian role models I have later in the years. Like, you know, Carmen, my sister, hopefully you guys will get to meet.
Mhm.
She's definitely big on redemption, forgiveness, and stuff like that. And my pastors at the time, Pastor Emery and Pastor Stephanie, they're always talking about agape love and, you know, embracing, you know, giving people second chances, stuff like that. So I ain't gonna walk around like there wasn't resentment growing up. I've learned to understand why I had certain resentment. It was more like I was just a child who wanted his family, and I felt like I was left behind kind of situation. And I also learned not to hold grudges because, you know, despite ages, people were young, dumb, made mistakes. You know, people grow from them. You know, hopefully people know not to make certain mistakes again. You know, learn that what you do affects other people and what other people affects. And that's kind of the philosophy I like follow with myself. Like treat people how I would like to be treated. If I made a mistake, I would want people to forgive me. I would want people to still love me for me instead of the mistake, hate me for the mistake I did. You know?
Absolutely. And treat
hmm
others how you want to be treated. That's
Yeah.
very big of you. That shows a lot of character,
hmm
especially with the things that you've been through, the things that you've encountered. and you didn't even ask for it. You were a child. You didn't even get the opportunity to say, yeah, this is what I want. So I commend you on that. So with all of that, how's your understanding? I heard you say something about giving grace and like you didn't say grace, I'm paraphrasing grace and forgiving people,
Hmm.
understanding that they make mistakes. So how has your understanding of forgiveness evolved, especially in the context of trauma informed care? Now
Hmm.
that like you're an adult, you forgive the things that you've been through, reconnecting with your family, going through these things that make you who you are today.
How's it evolved? I'm not sure how I can answer that in context of the question being asked, because I know this. I think I understand the question being asked, but at a point where nothing should take me out of character unless it's an attack on my character, basically. And I don't hold grudges at all. Period. I try to make it an environment where there's not there shouldn't be nothing to be forgiven from. Like if a conversation needs to be held, you make a mistake, own up to it, take responsibility, whatever it is you need to do. However it is, people take that and just know I'm here for that conversation, regardless of what was done. How we move forward from there will depend on how the conversation go, but the forgiveness will always be there. Like you've been forgiven. It's just the conversation needs to happen on how we're going to move forward, regardless of how things were forgiven and whatnot.
Hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So wrapping up, let's get just like a quick humor part. So now that you've been through all this, you of age, you adult. Is there now when you look at certain things where certain things might look familiar or occur that
Mhm.
make you feel like resent or make you feel uncomfortable or make you feel like now that all of this stuff has happened in your life, can you look back at that younger kid and be like, all right, Jimmy, you could chill. No fight mechanism. It's okay. Can you give him that safety now?
um, I think Jameek is at peace. Just that chapter of Jameek is at peace. If there's someone who's not at peace, that would be my high school me. But that's a whole different story for a whole different reason.
Okay.
Choices were made in during high school that echoes even into now. I'm not one who hold regrets. I don't live by the rules where regrets are at. I believe things happen, and not everything's for a reason, but everything builds character.
Okay.
So who I am now is a tribute to every decisions that was made from people around me and including myself from when I was born. So I'm not mad at how I'm turned out or who I am, but the things could have been different if I maybe focus harder on other things. Things could have also been different too.
Mhm. Life has different journeys. It has different ways that it could go. If you
Yeah.
could give any information to someone that grew up in a foster care system group home, it's very hard. That's like both of us understanding that there's no right or wrong concrete information.
Hmm.
It's up to you. If you were talking to someone who's telling you their story and how they've been in and out the system and in and out of incarceration and not feeling loved, going through some of the stuff you would do, what kind of feedback would you give them if you give any at all?
Well, I'm a secret guru and counselor on my part time. People do reach out to me on my Facebook and stuff to like sometimes for calls or whatever, and they give me their stories. I'm somebody who not everybody wants advice, but people want to be heard. I'm that person that give people that space. So I'll hear you if you want my 2 cents. You let me know beforehand. Like, yeah, I'm gonna vent to you. I want your 2 cents. Or if you want to be heard, I just want to be heard. Can I vent out to you? Just listen to me. The advice that I would give anybody growing up in foster care, everybody who has grown from foster care, is not necessarily advice, but like a affirmation. Like you matter. You matter. You belong. You're not broken. The system wasn't made to break people, but you're not broken and you matter. A lot of people grow up in foster care. They don't belong because it's not their family. A lot of foster family tend to make it clear sometimes you're not my kid, and it's wrong of them. But whether someone's trying to like make sure you don't get too comfortable or what, I don't know. The only reason why some people say that when they say that to a kid, it does something to their psyche, and I don't think they realize that. So you want to let people, and if you know somebody who's in foster care or grew up in foster care, just let them know that you're there for them. Mean it though, because we a different breed. We pick up on certain cues that regular people don't pick up on. So we know when you're saying something and it's yeah, you're just saying that to make me feel better, and we know when you mean it. Tell somebody you know you in foster care that they matter, that you're there for them. You're always you know you'll they want to provide a space. You'll provide a safe space for them to listen to. That's what a lot of them do need.
Okay, there you have
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Mr. Prince Xavier.
Yes, sir.
Okay, giving you your flowers. That was a remarkable story. I love you. You know I love
Thank
you.
you. I love you
Um,
too, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to have you up again, and we could talk
Hmm.
about something on the different and the lighter aspects of things.
Right.
You have a funny side, and yeah, you do have a vivid imagination. We would love to have you, and I'm sure that anybody who catches this episode is going to learn a thing or two about you, and learn something about trauma, and learn something about forgiveness. With that being said, that concludes another episode of Let's Talk About It. So don't forget, you can catch new episodes when they drop on YouTube and Spotify. And don't forget to hit that like button if you like what we're doing here. And if you want to follow the show, don't forget to hit the NF notification for when new episodes drop. Like I start to say to you guys, before it's reality, it's mental. Love y'all, miss y'all, peace.